Hello, welcome to Revelate Alpha. Hope you're enjoying the channel and the series of videos. I thought I would come live to you, just get that out of the way, come live to you and give you a show this afternoon and discuss a few things about the channel, about where things are going, and also about the latest news, Harley Davidson world, and all that kind of good stuff. So let's kick off with the channel first of all. I just want to say a big thanks to everybody who has subscribed. Got a little bump this week, which is really good. I think just about to break through 1900, which is really great. Website's starting to do a lot better as well, and still getting lots of messages and emails coming through as well, and lots of inquiries, not only off the website but on the social media channels as well, which is really good. And it's really good that, you know, people are asking questions as well, so that's really good. Hello, Kurt. Hello, how are you? Good evening. Yes, I'm doing very well. But anyway, so the channel's doing, you know, a lot better. And the website is doing better as well. Lots of information on the website, as you know, about all Harley Davidson motorcycle stuff. There will be more information getting on there at some point as well. Yeah, doing a few things at the same time. I am here now. Let me just quickly check everything, make sure that it's all still working here. Right, yeah. So first bit of update then. You might have noticed that everything has changed behind me a little bit. So I've rejigged a lot of things. So this will be, again, my permanent home for sort of internal videos, studio videos, and also doing the podcast as well. So I've just did a lot of filming yesterday. So uploaded a load of videos last night. And they'll be start to come out soon as well. And you'll see this kind of background there as well. I've actually added to it this morning, so you kind of won't see the other bit, but you'll see this kind of angle anyway. So there's a lot more. There's a lot more info coming out on the website, but also on the channel as well. So I'm going to sort of change things up a little bit. Still with the tech videos, still a lot more discussion videos, still a lot more items of interest in terms of motorcycling and everything like that. I'm probably going to drop the motorcycle, well, I have dropped now the motorcycle confessional videos. What I'm going to do is incorporate some of those questions that come through on the emails periodically. I'll do that on the live shows as well. So that's something which I'll do. If you've got any questions today, feel free to ask or leave them in the comments afterwards as well. Okay, let's get on to Harley Davidson world, if we can, or motorcycling world. I had a good reaction from a couple of videos which I did earlier this week about the ongoing sagas at Norton Motorcycles, and how the government are investigating the pension regulator, and you know, why weren't alarm bells raised a long time before it got to the point where they just went into administration and bankrupt. So many horror stories are coming out of the Norton motorcycle story. It's just not a good situation all round. Even at a lot of media outlets, I've got to say, people are pointing the finger at them, saying, "Well, hold on a minute, you guys knew behind the scenes that was trouble there, but you weren't reporting it. You know, you're all well and good reporting as hell what a great motorcycle it is, what a great, you know, this and that. Oh, look, John McGuinness, he's racing, you know, doing great at the TT." But nobody was saying anything. Everybody was sort of tight-lipped about it. So I think you got to ask yourself, well, if people knew, but this wasn't really coming out, then what's going on, you know? Kurt, I have heard a rumour that the Sport Glider was going to be discontinued. Have you heard anything? Okay, Kurt, that's a really good question. One of the things that we've always felt within the Sport Glide community, if you want, I want to say that, is that there wasn't a lot of emphasis placed upon it from Harley Davidson, it would appear. And it also appeared that there weren't a lot of accessories for it. I've spoken about this in the past. So you know, there was lots of rumors and speculation that it was going to be discontinued. It would probably make it into year three of its production, but then it would go by the wayside. I've spoke to various dealerships, both across here in Europe and also in the United States as well, and they were all under the impression actually Sport Glide was a really good seller on the Softail platform, and they'd be very surprised if it went, if it was discontinued. Lots of people that were contacting me from within the industry. This is about 6 months ago. Possibly, they were all saying behind the scenes there is a strong movement towards discontinuing the Sport Glide because it is in that nowhere. No man's land, as it were. It's not a tourer, but it's not a bare bones bike either. It's kind of in between. If you want a tourer, you go to the tourer, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, it does fit that gap where people don't want the tourer, but they want a good touring capability. They want a good all-rounder, and that's what the Sport Glide, in many ways, it does that with a different type of style that you don't get, let's say, from the Road King or the Heritage or something like that, or the Classic or something like that. So, it's one hand there was lots of strong rumors about it. On the other hand, it's nothing's materialized as well. Now, actually, since that time, you speak to a lot of dealerships and they will give you the same sort of thing. They will tell you the same story, actually, that the Sport Glide is one of the best sellers. So if it's one of the best sellers in the Softail range, that you've got to ask yourself, why would any company want to discontinue it? Now, it could be lots of different reasons, of course. It could be that they want to make way. They want to trim the fat off the Softail range. They want to make way for a new model coming through. They want to take it in a different direction. All that kind of stuff. That is quite possible. So nothing is set in stone, I would say. And only those within the corridors of power of Harley Davidson are going to know whether they're going to discontinue it or not. But it really depends who you want to listen to. I would say right now, I feel a lot more comfortable now that it's not going to be discontinued, certainly for the next year or so. In the future, who knows? I mean, you could say the same about anybody, but I've got to say, if Harley Davidson want to continue with this more roads program, getting more riders in, the Softail Ranger, but I've also said the Sport Glide has been one of those bikes that has attracted a lot of new riders to the Harley Davidson brand, if you like. So I'd be very surprised if they got rid of it. Certainly in the near future. But anyway, we'll see. I mean, look, there's lots of change at Harley Davidson right now, isn't there? There's lots of people unsure whether the company are going to be able to get through this. I've just made a couple of videos about the financial situation of Harley Davidson as well, and they're looking at this new program, this recovery program under the previous CEO Matthew Levatich, and they're looking at a recovery, let's say, of 2021-2022. Obviously he's gone now, and they got the interim CEO there, Jochen what's his name, Jochen Kites, who's there as well. But it really depends what's going to happen in the next few months. This is not just for Harley Davidson, this is for all companies as well. You would hope that they can weather this storm, and hopefully that they can build on and try and find the magic ingredient that will get sales in. But I've always said this about Harley Davidson, and many of you would say it, and many people around the world would say it. It's not necessarily the bikes that they're building, because that's a subjective thing, whether you like that kind of bike or not, whether you think they're good engineering or not, that kind of thing. I think certainly the modern bikes are a lot better than they used to be, there's no doubt. But you've got to look at the pricing of these things, the price point and the entry level of this. you've got to look at the new generation coming through, and also that middle-aged generation who are buying bikes, but actually they're kind of buying them through gritted teeth, and they're thinking, do I really need to spend this money when I can spend it elsewhere? If they look at the pricing, reduce the price, and this whole flannel about oh yeah, well it's a premium brand, and if you can't afford it, then you don't deserve it. All that that's a load of nonsense. The thing is, if you can afford it, just about, yes, I suppose there's a kind of a privilege really for anything if you can afford anything like that. But I think actually they need to look at their pricing. They need to kickstart sales, give it a boost. And the only way you're going to do that is by incentivizing the public, let's say the motorcycle buying public, into buying your particular brand. Yeah, you got to match it with quality and reliability and performance and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose you've got to look in these new models that they were supposed to be bringing out, the Pan America, the Bronx, which has just been such a long time process. And that's the other thing that they've got to look at. This launching of motorcycles, they just take too long. They give you information too early, then they just take too long to develop them. The other big thing, again, which is scaring off a lot of people, is the availability of parts. Now, the parts are there. It's just their system in getting them to you, which has been under a lot of pressure. I've made a video about that, so that'll be coming out very soon as well. They need to look at pricing. Once they look at pricing, then I think there's going to be some positive changes for Harley Davidson. Whether under this new interim CEO, or whether when they eventually get a full-time CEO in place. Hi Alf, we'll watch your show later on biking, George. Okay, yeah, I was out on my bike earlier today, actually. Went out to a few places. I tell you what, it's like a ghost town. It is like a ghost town around here. Lockie, hello, 1%, how are you? Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, sir. How is it up in Birmingham? Yeah, it's, I mean, the rain's come here. I mean, I think it will pass through. But I'll say I was out and about on the bike this morning. Went to a few places, and I say it was really quiet. The roads were, I mean, it's a Sunday, you expect it to be relatively quiet, but shops that would normally be open were all closed. I went to a couple of biking places nearby. Just went for a bit of a ride out. Nothing. I mean, it was early. I give you that. But then I went to a couple of other places. I went to a couple of indoor. There was like a brewery that was having this kind of indoor stall, not a car boot sale, but an arts and crafts sort of sale. I thought I might see if I can go and pick up a cheeky couple of things there, but it ended up being trinkets and jams and stuff, which is all very nice, but I don't really want a pillowcase or anything like that. So anyway, I decided to come back anyway. Yeah, it's yeah, persisting down. Yeah, it was definitely. It's been raining here for a good couple of hours now. But I don't want to do the whole weather thing. But it's just a band of weather that's moving through, and we'll all be fine afterwards. Anyway, how's the bike, Lockie? Anyway, how's your bike? Another Sport Glide rider. Yeah, so I've got to made a few adjustments to my bike, a few modifications that I'm making. One of the big things that I've been making next, I'm investigating now, is handlebars. I'm looking at different types of handlebars that I want to get, and I'm looking at whether I'll be honest with everybody, it's whether I can be bothered to do the job myself or whether I just get somebody else to do it for me. It's not about... I suppose I'm in the same boat as a lot of people. It's not about doing the job yourself. It's actually about the time to do it. And I'd much rather ride my bike than actually not. And I'm going to be looking at price points, but I also think it'd be a really interesting series or video to make on that. And so I'm going to get back into the dealerships and talk about that thing as well. Lockie, is anyone else waiting a long time for Harley parts of the SG? It's a joke. Absolutely. I've just talked about that, and also I've made a video which will be coming out soon on this thing. I went into a dealership a few weeks ago and I did an interview there. They're all scratching their heads. They're all wondering what the hell's going on with these parts. It's basically there's been a big restructure within Harley Davidson in terms of their global distribution of the parts, but still, it's just gone on too long. There's a real issue with Harley Davidson and their parts and their distribution and making them available, not just for sport glides. This is for right across the board. Some owners have been lucky and able to get their parts quite quickly. Others have been very unlucky to get those. Well, anyway, hopefully, if you're not, I mean, as I was saying in the video, and you'll watch it, you'll see it later in the week. But I was saying is that, well, if you've got work to do on your bike, that is just sort of general routine stuff. I wouldn't. I've heard horror stories of people taking their bikes in, and then the bike's there 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, because they can't continue with the. It could be some custom work, it could be some modification work, whatever. So I would say don't do anything until you have every single part in stock or in your hands, and then take your bike in to have some work done, or if you're going to do the work yourself as well. Lockie, yeah, apart from that, all good, thanks. Well, good to hear that. Right, awaiting. Oh, okay, here we go. Right, so I missed this bit from you, Lockie. Awaiting 3 engine cases in wrinkled black, center console in black, and the Dakota clock. Right, now, are you getting that from Birmingham, the dealership? Or have you tried elsewhere, or what, are they giving you a time frame as well? I thought that was pretty standard stuff. I mean, they're supposed to be getting all their parts now from Belgium, I believe. So yeah, this is a bit, you've got to be careful when you're talking about availability of parts, not to everybody start spiraling out of control and to think, God, there's a massive problem here. What's up with Harley Davidson? Are they going under? And all this kind of stuff. You kind of have to temper that enthusiasm for the pessimism sometimes. And, I'm one of the worst for that, because I'm always trying to scratch beneath the surface and seeing exactly what's going on. There is an issue. There is no doubt. The question is, why is there the issue? Why is it continuing for so long? And frankly, what the hell are they doing about it? That's what I want to know. No, what are they doing about it? Yeah, as you say, look, you're waiting 5 weeks for your parts. I mean, we're not talking speciality parts here, by the way. We're talking standard parts. And you're having to wait, weeks and weeks on end. You'll get them. You'll get the parts. But, just the wait is just ridiculous. Now, if it's a 2 or 3 weeks, yeah, a couple of weeks, depending on what it is, yeah, I could handle that. But 5 weeks, and especially if you've already taken your bike in. And say, I was speaking to the dealership. They were saying that they had bikes there, and they were keeping them there. They couldn't do anything with them. The owner couldn't come and get them because they're already halfway through the job. And, so there we go. Anyway, look, so it's an ongoing issue with that. It's an ongoing issue with the company as well. Let's say which direction they're going to go in. And, yeah, look, I mean, there's lots of rumours coming out about, what they're actually going to do with the live wire, and also the other electric bikes and variants, and what they're going to do in the future. There was calls this week for them to scrap all that, or not scrap it, but just to put it on hold and actually focus on the core business, the business that brings them money, the business that brings in anything. And this is what I talked about, price points as well. You've got to try and kickstart the company. And we'll talk about coronavirus and that effect in a bit, and that's kind of like a separate issue. But they're having to deal with that massive impact on a global level, you see. But the only way they're going to be able to focus and get through this is to restructure, and also to, they want to have lots and lots of motorcycles, lots and lots of choice, which is fine, but they also need to start honing in on what is actually going to bring in the money. And this Softail standard, which they brought out, a bit of criticism there from all quarters. The different paint schemes that came out for the road glides as well. Lots of criticism there. But it's all faff really. You just need to actually bring a bike out that people want to buy, and that's the nuts and bolts of it, I'm afraid. Now with this coronavirus, look, this is an ongoing issue. We know this is going to take a while. I was reading messages from and emails from people in Italy who had sent me messages as well, saying what had happened there. As we know in Italy, they've pretty much shut down the country. They've restricted movement. I've spoken to people over there. It's not only in the big cities, it's in small villages. People are respecting this no moving or no mobility. They're shutting down shops now. So no shops are open, would you believe, unless it's a food shop of some kind. Food production, people are allowed to go to work for food production, and within the distribution of food chemists, pharmacists, or all that kind of stuff. But essentially, businesses in general are shutting down. They've shut down. People's livelihoods are at stake. Now, that's not just there. This is going to be happening in other countries as well. Harley Davidson dealerships or motorcycle dealerships or motorcycle workshops, anything like that has had to shut down. And then first of all, they were saying, don't come to the dealership, don't do this, don't do that, we're going to have to be really restrictive. Now it's like, well, they can't, they may even go out of business. If you think that's only happening in other countries, wait a couple of weeks, as that could happen here and happen in other parts of the world as well. The question here is not actually how we're tackling this coronavirus, because there are different ways to tackle it, and depends which scientific advisor a particular government has. They might go in one particular direction or not. What is interesting is actually the economy. You and I, people, how are we going to earn money if we can't earn money? What about if we lose job? What about the company that we're working for, the business we work for, folds, goes under? And who's going to support that? Who's going to protect that? And I think that's why the British government, in many ways, is saying, look, we kind of don't want to, whilst there is a definite risk to health, of course there is. And, the old, the infirm and the young are going to be at risk. They kind of don't want to have a massive impact on the economy, but it already has. If you look at restaurants, if you look at bars, if you look at takeaways, all that kind of stuff, they've had a massive reduction in people. Going to any motorcycle dealership or any kind of shop, the footfall is massively reduced. So this can only carry on for so long. And you watch my videos coming up this week, and I sort of talk about this thing as well. Part of me wants to tell people, look, you've got to carry on with your daily life. You've got to carry on. We've got to, as a society, wherever we are in the world, we've got to just do the best we can, keep, cogs turning and everything. But at the same time, you have to look at, well, you can't really do that because of this virus thing that's going on. And it's not about you or I if we're fit and able. It's about all those others who are not fit and able or who are susceptible. And if we get our carriers, then we could actually infect other people. And that's why all sporting fixtures around the world have been shut down. If you follow football in the UK, basically they've just suspended the leagues, all the professional leagues. And one of the things here is that the footballers was, first of all, they were saying, well, okay, maybe you can play your games behind closed doors. But then the footballers were saying, well, actually, are we not human as well? Aren't we susceptible to this? And it was only until a couple of players got it and then one of the managers got it that all of a sudden they said, right, okay, we're going to suspend the league as well, which is quite right. So if we're passing this around, then we've got to find a way to limit that, that passing it around. But the massive knock-on effect for everything else is just amazing. And what might be even worse for the general population here is that actually the economies could be totally destroyed. People's livelihoods could be destroyed. In Italy, they were saying, okay, well, they're going to suspend mortgage payments and debt payments and all that kind of stuff. But they can only do that for so long. People are in business, one hand feeds the other, which feeds the other. That's the way the economy works. Everything is kind of linked in with each other through a few, degrees of separation in many ways. Motorcycle industry is no different. Dealerships are no different. Workshops are no different. And by extension, everything else. Now, let's say, for example, Lockie, you're in a motorcycle club, okay? There are lots of people in all sorts of different clubs, groups, associations. I was speaking to one of my pals yesterday, bumped into him in a frothy coffee shop near here. And we're basically saying, look, there's a few events, few rallies, which kind of in the process of organising in this area. Right here, right now, we've got some for Easter. There's a couple of other ones after that. And, there's like, I want to say an emergency meeting, but there's going to be an emergency meeting tomorrow. This is Monday night down at the local pub here to determine actually, are we going to be able to carry on with this, or are they going to be able to carry on putting on these events? Now, it doesn't actually, the coronavirus and the spread of that, and the way the government and the health agencies, the public health agencies deal with that is one thing. But again, it's the knock-on effect of that. So let's say this only lasts for another month or so, okay? Then everybody say, right, hey, everything back to normal now, we're all fine, right? I doubt it's going to be like that, by the way, but, all that. Well, that means that you've got events that may or may not be able to go ahead. They might have already been cancelled anyway. Then if you've got an event, let's say you've got a party you want to put on, or some kind of rally, or some kind of motorcycle club thing, whatever it is, right? Then all of a sudden, you think you run the risk of nobody coming to your event because they're still a little bit nervous about going to any kind of public gathering event. That's a real issue. It's a real issue for everybody, not only in motorcycling terms. It's not only dealing with the immediate effect of this coronavirus and how it affects you and I, and how it affects whether we ride our bikes or whether we feel ill and all that kind of stuff. Actually, it's not. That is not the immediate. Well, that's the immediate issue, of course it is. But actually, the massive thing on the horizon is not the coronavirus and how it's affecting immediate public health. The bigger thing could be for fit and able people, let's say, it's what happens afterwards. That's it. Now, we have a duty of care to, to protect those vulnerable in society. And that's why this kind of restrictions on people's movements and gatherings and all that kind of stuff, I think is a good thing, because actually what you're doing is you're not really talking about the fit and able people here. You're talking about the virus spreading out and contaminating, let's say, all those people in old people's homes, all that kind of stuff. That's what that's what we've got to protect, and that's what we've got to enable the healthcare system to be able to cope with this, I work with the frontline emergency services as well. I know lots of people have a lot the inside track on a lot of these things that are going on behind the scenes as well. In the winter, all healthcare systems are pushed to the limit, but no more so than here in this country. We're absolutely rammed, because we have a high percentage of elderly in this country as well, so it's rammed anyway. That's why I want to try and delay this a little bit until the summer or summer months where it's warmer, so that the healthcare system would be not as busy in percentage terms, and they might be able to cope with this a little bit more. Massive knock-on effect here for, if we want to get back to motorcycling, massive knock-on effect here, not only for individual businesses, groups, organizations, but big corporations as well. I've been getting lots of messages this week saying, people, do you think Harley Davidson is going to be able to survive this period? And I think, well, it really depends. So, I've look at the business aspect of Harley Davidson quite a lot. They've lost, over the last sort of 3 or 4 months, they've lost virtually half of their share price. In the last week, I think they lost $8 or $10 on the share price. And you don't think, well, okay, that doesn't sound a lot. Actually, it's millions. It's millions and millions. Now, share prices are one of those things that they can recover. That's the thing. Can they recover from it? Will it recover? And the stock market is a very sensitive thing. It can be swayed either way, and most of it is down to perception about confidence from investors from at a global level. Will they recover? Well, before this coronavirus, I'd say, well, it's a bit touch and go whether they could continue in the same way. That's why they've had a CEO change. Things are not right at the top. The direction isn't going as they want it to. But now this has happened, and you've got to feel for them. You've got to feel for any company that is going to be, struggling at the top there. They're going to be struggling to know which is the best way to go, and how it's going to impact, on their ability to provide a service to us as any kind of customer, let alone any new customers out there. So the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for Harley Davidson, and it's going to be worse. It's going to be for individuals. Now, I'm not even talking about these closet doomsday preppers that have suddenly just come out of the woodwork and they're just buying up everything. I mean, that just makes the situation even worse. You don't need to do that. People going into supermarkets over the weekend, just going crazy buying toilet roll and stuff like that. The supply is there. It's still there. You don't need to go buy all this nonsense now. But people just think, okay, it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse. There's an overreaction by lots of people with this. And the problem is, as I say, the knock-on effect is the overreaction impacts the economy and it impacts everything else. So on the one hand, you've got to be sensible. You've got to be careful. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of, be mindful of who you get in contact with. And yes, you need to keep your distance a little bit. You need to wash your hands. It's personal hygiene. It's all that kind of stuff. But if you stop doing stuff, if you paralyze yourself, if you paralyze the economy, that's going to be worse in the long run for everybody. The yardstick here is countries and local economies like in China and Italy and now Spain. Poland have been on a 2-week lockdown as well, apparently, or seriously restricted what they're able to do as well. That's the yardstick to see, okay, those economies, Italy and Spain to a certain degree as well, and Poland, they're not the strongest of economies, or they're sometimes can be very weak as well. Well, this could actually see them go under as well. And if you want to bring it back to motorcycling, you look at motorsports. Motorsports that's shutting down. Motorcycling is shutting down. The big players, they're shutting down. Ferrari have just shut down their workshops, their base Maranello. You're gonna see others do the same thing. What about organizations, let's say, like Harley Davidson, like Moto Guzzi, Ducati, Kawasaki, whatever? People within those corporations, the workforce, then they start calling in sick. Okay, so they start calling in sick and they say, right, okay, well, we can't come into work. We have to self-isolate. Then they say, well, who have you come into contact with? Then everybody else. So everybody is, at some point, can be part of this, and we could easily see everything grind to a halt, unless there is a different approach to it all over the globe. You say, well, look, we're gonna have to try and do the best we can. But look, if you're not showing any symptoms, even though you've tested positive, if you're not showing any symptoms, then just carry on. One of the football managers over here who just tested positive, his wife put out a statement earlier on saying, well, look, he feels not great, but she said if it wasn't for this, that he tested positive for this coronavirus, he still would have gone to work. He would take some paracetamol, ibuprofen. It wouldn't have put him off from working. So it's not going to be for every single person who contracts this that they're going to be really seriously ill. There's a very small percentage of those who would be bedridden, and an even smaller percentage of that who would actually be their health seriously at risk. So there is a need to be sensible, but there's also a need to not overreact. And we as people, we have a responsibility to do both. The government, local officials have a responsibility to do both. And the only way that businesses and dealerships and groups are going to survive is to be able to either they're going to have to shut up shop temporarily. You're not going to be able to put on events anymore and all that kind of stuff. Or you're going to have to just run it as a skeleton crew and just keep things going and see what happens. I mean, this is not a great deal. This is not a great situation for anybody. Of course, it could get worse. It's likely to get worse. But we've got to find a balance of being able to still, run our lives and operate our lives. I mean, that's what I feel as well. We can't just sort of sit around and wait for something else to happen. It's almost like, I'll just mop all this up here. It's almost like we've entered into this way of tackling it, and that's the only thing that people are thinking about, or governments are thinking about, or I just saw a clip this morning from Italy where people are with their shopping trolleys. They're all lined up on the side of the road in the fog, in the drizzle, and this is like a food line. It's like some third world thing going on. It's crazy, and they say there is no reason why people, if they keep themselves at distance, if we had better, more enforceable information, first of all, keep your hands washed, or wear surgical gloves or stuff like that, that kind of thing. So you go and touch things, you pick things off the shelf, let's say, you put it in your basket, you take it home, then you wash your hands, all that kind of stuff. There's no doubt we're going to have to change the way we live for a little bit, but we have to be very careful that we don't end up crippling ourselves and just through being paralyzed through fear, or just being so indoctrinated into something that that we may or may not need to do. As I said to my other half, there's no right or wrong answer here. There is no right or wrong way to do it in terms of different countries, how they approach it, because people, one expert will tell you one thing, then another expert will tell you another thing, and they're saying, well, who's right? Well, so they're both right, and they may be both wrong. We as individuals, we can only protect ourselves and be sensible, but not overreact. If we overreact and panic, and we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot completely. And we've got to remember this, it's the majority of people who will be ill, let's say, but that will not have any kind of issue. So we just, as long as we be sensible, keep our distance, whatever, we should be fine. When I say should be fine, you know what I mean. We should be able to manage this at least. Anyway, I've gone on a bit of a rant here, haven't I? Anyway, listen, I just wanted to make sure that we had a bit of an update on the channel. So if there's any other information that I come across or anything else, I'll put it out on a video, or I'll let you guys know. I might do some live streams. It really depends actually how I'm feeling, and we're all feeling over the next few weeks. The whole landscape may change for us all. We just don't know. If I can, I will try and do updates here. I'll try and give you information as much as I see it, not only in whatever in motorcycling terms, but also in anything else. If I'm stuck here and I can't do anything else, and I am able to do shows, then I'll try and do something that at least keeps the brain cells ticking over. At least we got something to interact with each other, and something that we can all, have a bit of a giggle with. Anyway, but look, as the sign says, old bold men have feelings too. Well, I've had a good old shave last night, and yeah, still feeling old, but bold and proud. Anyway, but there you go. That's it. Anyway, so look, enjoy the rest of your Sunday if you can. So the weather's sort of clearing up a little bit here. So I might just poodle out on the bike for a little bit. But I say, I've got a couple of things to go and get. But the Harley Davidson, the Heroic Harley, still running smooth today. No dramas. I did notice, by the way, so I went to fill up with petrol, and it came to, I was right on fumes, completely on fumes, had nothing there. And I was, usually it's about 24, 25 pounds to fill up virtually from empty to all the way to the brim. Slosh your tank around a little bit, get some air, push your air out, and then keep on topping up. 24, 25 pounds. Today, 19 pounds 70 something or other. I haven't got my wallet with me, but yeah, it was something like that. I had the receipt, and I was thinking, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? Anyway, the price has dropped from 130 odd to 117 a litre. I knew that the crude oil prices had dropped. I knew that the petrol prices, but do you know what? I hadn't paid much attention to the actual price of it the last week or so, or the last couple of weeks. But so yeah, it's dropped quite a lot. Long may it continue. Drop, drop, drop. But obviously, again, it's the world that we live in, isn't it? About how the economy all works and everything. But I certainly noticed a massive drop in the price today. Anyway, but look, I'm gonna head on out now for the time for this afternoon. I say if I got more info, I'll come back to you. But to say there are, in terms of Harley Davidson, there are changes at the top. There's going to be restructuring. They're all working on how they're going to get over this storm, this virus, how it affects the impact, how it impacts the economy, but also how it impacts the share price, but also how they're going to go forward as well. In the industry press and the business press out there, that's what they're really kind of focusing on right now. What changes are going to be made and how they're going to be able to survive over the next coming weeks and months. But this is not, I don't want to say this is a Harley Davidson issue. This is business in general issue that people are having. Right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. If I am able to do more shows, I will come back to you, and I will do more as whenever I can. But please like, share, subscribe, leave comments below. Check out the website to say revelatoralf.com. revelatoralf.com. Click the bell next to the subscribe button down below for all future videos. So more subscribers coming. Please tell your friends, tell them to come on over to Revelator Alf. So I'm doing a variety of shows now, a variety of content. I'll always be doing Harley Davidson Sport Glide stuff as and when I feel appropriate. It's a case of just trying to provide you guys with good information as opposed to just doing stuff that is kind of random, too random, or that, you know, anybody's done before. So it's trying to find a balance of bringing you information that is new, that is helpful, without repeating what anybody else would have done as well. So anyway, so lots more stuff coming, always coming out daily. Right now there's actually 2 or 3 videos coming out daily in some cases, so I overdid it with a lot of content into the end of March. I'm already starting to fill out April. Then I am looking at changing my frequency of how I do it. I still want to do daily uploads, but it may go back to 3 a week. I don't know yet. My aim is to carry on with a daily video for you. That's it. And if any other information comes along and any sort of topical news comes out, then I will try and address that as well. If you have anything that you want me to talk about or investigate for you or come up with some kind of solution, please email that in as well. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think. I am currently investigating changes to motorcycle taxation in the UK based upon emissions. There's a video be coming out about that soon. I have been talking in videos I've been making recently about changes, or how companies like Harley Davidson and other companies like Suzuki or whatever are having to fight their urges, if you like, to produce really great, awesome bikes, but they're tempered by emissions rules and everything like that. And that also lends itself into the warranty of a motorcycle as well, because people are a bit fed up with the warranty or the voiding of warranties under Harley Davidson, but their hands are tied to a certain degree because they have to still keep a bike that is within the regulations, as it were, and the changing regulations as well. So, there's going to be a lot of movement on that, lots of information coming out on that as well. But if you've got any more information, if you've got any other questions, send them in by the website, revelatoralf.com. And if there's anything else I can help you with,